All right, everybody. Okay, everyone, welcome to our, really one of our first webinars that we will be doing for our senior adult dementia programs. I just want to, before we get started, I just want to let you all know that we are very proud of the programs that we have now been running virtually since March for our dementia population and their caregivers and care partners. And if anyone's interested in learning more about those programs, Pam Jaffe is the person to talk to and to email, and certainly at the end, we certainly can give you that information. Actually, Pam can put it in the chat. So Pam will just—
Sure, I'll be happy to do that.
Yeah, just put your email in the chat so people can get in touch with you if they need to. So today we are very excited because we have started to work with an amazing collaborating partner, Fox Rehab. And we are very lucky to have Jennifer Lamb from Fox Rehab. Jennifer graduated with her master's in Occupational Therapy in 2017 from Stony Brook University. She began her career working in a skilled nursing facility with a unit specialized for patients with dementia, and has since pursued clinical excellence in geriatrics with Fox Rehab. Through her time with Fox, she's worked to achieve certifications in Lee Silverman's voice treatment for patients with Parkinson's disease and kinesio, is that pronounced correctly? Kinesio, to address musculoskeletal deficits. Jennifer is passionate about serving the geriatric community and enhancing the lives of older adults through meaningful activity. And we are very fortunate that today she will be talking about caregiver tips, managing behaviors, and daily activities for dementia. Thank you, Jen, for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm really happy to help out in any way I can.
Jen, before you continue, can everyone just mute themselves so that there won't be any background noise, please? Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for having me, guys. As she said, you know, I have a lot of experience with dementia and have successfully managed a lot of dementia behaviors in my experience. So I'm happy to help share some tips to help you guys at home manage behaviors, even though, as we all know, patients respond differently to therapists versus family members. So use the tips as much as you can, but you know, there might still be some different results here. Let me make sure there we go. So there's a million different types of dementia. And each type of dementia comes with different types of symptoms that you might see. Some include hallucinations, some don't, some, you know, are related to other diseases like Parkinson's. So depending on the type of dementia, you're going to have different symptoms. However, even two people with the same type of dementia might even present differently. So it's really a case-by-case basis, and you have to personalize what you're doing to each patient in order to get the best result. So a lot of people ask me pretty much every time I walk into a house to do an evaluation, what is occupational therapy? So I figured I would just, you know, go into some of the therapies and what we can help a patient with dementia with. So for occupational therapy, we take a big look at the home and what modifications can be made to areas such as the bathroom, the bedroom, kitchen, living room, really any area of the house that you spend time in to make it more accessible or more manageable for the patient. There are certifications in these areas as well that you can seek out. And they can recommend like whole renovations for you if you're really looking into, you know, digging something up. We can help you guys get trained on tips and tricks to help with things like dressing or to manage behaviors like we're doing today. So we really work hand in hand with the caregivers because you guys are the ones that are going to be carrying over these techniques day to day. The 1 hour a week, 2 hours a week that we're there in the house with you is great, but it doesn't really mean much if it's not done daily. Occupational therapy's main focus is to restore function in ADLs. ADL means to have an activity of daily living. So it can include literally anything that you want to do in your day. If your hobby used to be feeding the birds outside and I had a fall, now I can't walk outside safely, we can help you get back to that. The overlap here with PT is that we also work on strength, flexibility, balance, mobility, because those are things that you need to complete these tasks. So sometimes you see a lot of overlap in the treatments, but the overall goal would be a little bit different. And as me and Harriet were talking before, we can assess for different wheelchair needs. So many times if you go to the doctor's office and they say, oh, you might need a wheelchair, let's put in for PT. The expert in wheelchairs is actually OT. And, you know, my counterparts really would rather me do the wheelchair because, you know, I studied it in school and it's, you know, I love doing wheelchairs. I think it's really helpful to have somebody that's more experienced in wheelchairs, you know, giving advice on that. Physical therapy, even though there can be cognitive declines, there's also physical declines. And even though the mind may not be there, you can always train the body to recover. So they would really work on gait, balance, strength, bed mobility, getting up and down from chairs, things like that to help improve their ability to get around. They would also help train on handling techniques, how to help somebody transfer. They also have to use those behavioral type of interventions to conquer and overcome those aversive behaviors. And they could train you or the patient in body mechanics and posture. You don't want to hurt yourself if you're helping somebody up. So if they observe you helping them, like let's say you're helping someone from a chair and they observe, oh, you know what, you're going to strain your back doing it this way, try it this way instead. So that's where they can really shine. For speech therapy is actually super interesting. You think of speech, you think of talking and voice, which is one of the main aspects that they do. So, but they also have two other really unique areas that they are experts in, and that is swallowing and cognition. So especially in the early stages of dementia, speech can be really important to help prolong the amount of assistance that they need from external cues, and they can adapt into some things like checklists or reminders instead of having someone to always be there to tell them to do something. So speech is the expert in really trying to get those compensatory methods for the lack of the cognition that's present. So some common behaviors that we want to, you know, kind of stray away from and help them overcome: wandering, aggression, agitation, anxiety, delusions, and hallucinations. These types of behaviors can always affect the things that you do in your daily life, like dressing, bathing, grooming, feeding, scheduling. So there's really important to help you get a successful performance from your loved one to help them overcome these behaviors. So wandering, a lot of times this happens at night. Someone will get up in the middle of the night. Maybe they think they have to go to the bathroom and then, you know, they just kind of wander off around the house. It can get very dangerous if somebody ends up going outside the house in the middle of the night. So this is something that we really want to tackle as soon as it comes up. So if you see somebody wandering, and if they're safe wandering and it's in the day and there's nothing really going on, maybe they just want to get some exercise. Who can sit there all day and, you know, not want to stretch their legs a little? So wandering during the day safely, if they're safe when they're walking, let them go, let them walk around. Maybe it's time for a walk even. But if it's not, then try to redirect the behavior. We're going to go over approaching a patient with dementia in a few minutes, but use a calm tone of voice to suggest a different preferred activity. So instead of, you know, no, let's stay here, instead of saying, no, 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 don't do that, say, why don't we go into this instead? Why don't we come into the living room? Maybe they just want a change of scenery. I mean, you know your loved ones best, so picking out a preferred activity to redirect to is really a personal thing. You can figure something out. I found somebody that used to be some sort of engineer or builder, and I found him a busy board with nuts and bolts. And he wasn't very attentive to that at first, but we left it out. And eventually he started, you know, gaining more interest in it. So, you know, preferred activities can be very personal. Don't argue or yell. Don't be like, no, 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 get back over here. It's time for dinner. You got to come over this way. Because then they're just gonna be like, no, I don't want to go with you. You're yelling at me. So instead of arguing, be like, why don't we go together into the kitchen and, you know, get dinner ready? Or why don't we go, instead of saying, no, we have to do it this way, because it just comes off a little bit more appealing when you're doing something together versus telling someone what to do. If wandering becomes dangerous, like at night, there are little door alarms that you can get that will sound. You can put a top latch on the top of the door. Baby monitors are great for if you want to stay up a little longer, but you want to make sure that, you know, you keep an eye, or if you have an aide overnight, those are fantastic for seeing, you know, they sometimes even have motion sensors where it'll turn on and like alert you that there's motion. Bed alarms. So the bed alarm is like a mat that attaches to an alarm. And when the mat feels the pressure come up, so if the person was to get up from the bed, then the alarm would sound and that would alert you to somebody getting up. A few less intensive ways to curb that behavior would be putting up signs like don't go here. Even a caution sign sometimes can, you know, deter them from going out a door, or a door disguise like you can see here on the left side of the screen. I think I even saw them on Amazon, and you just put it over the door, and to someone with dementia, their sensory system isn't processing information like we do. So if we saw a decal of a bookcase on a door, we would say, well, that's just a hidden door. But someone with dementia might say, oh, that's just a bookcase. So those are some of the ways that you can disguise doors and manage the behavior of wandering. For aggression and agitation, you know, it gets a little hairier because emotions are higher. But try to figure out what is the agitation, why they're getting aggressive. Sometimes it can be a medication, UTI, feelings of hunger or thirst, having to go to the bathroom, or they're super frustrated because they're trying to tell you something, and because they're not communicating it properly, you're not understanding what they're saying, and that can be very frustrating for anyone, but especially with somebody with dementia. Then there's external factors such as over or under stimulation. So if you're out in a grocery store and there's so much going on in their environment, their sensory system isn't processing it at the same speed that we are. It really gets overwhelming. That can cause agitation, aggression, anxiety, or understimulation where, you know, you're in a room all day with nothing to do, you know, you can get kind of crazy. Another idea could be a change in routine. What did we do differently today that we didn't do yesterday that caused this reaction? So you're going to hear this 100 times today, redirection. We want to redirect any aversive behaviors. You can reapproach. So try your approach a couple different ways, a couple different times, and see which one works that time. Putting on calming music in the background, putting on aromatherapy, some calming scents could help. It's always important not to argue, agree, and redirect. And then you can even like reminisce about something else. Like, oh, do you remember that trip we took to Disney World, where, you know, the kids were little and they had such a good time playing in the sandbox, like something, and it'll get them, you know, calm down. They'll think about it. And if you know what the trigger is, obviously eliminate it if possible. You can even present like a familiar activity like folding laundry or sorting utensils, something simple that can keep their mind busy. And it can be really challenging. So if you as caregivers find yourself becoming upset or frustrated, try to recognize this as a sign of your own, you know, sanity and your own burnout. And you can seek, there's so many community resources that are available to you. There's a lot out there. So please, you know, try to take it easy on yourself and to take care of yourself. So managing anxiety, very similar to managing aggression, but there's some environmental factors that could be playing a role here. So lighting, different lightings can cast shadows some other places in the room, or can make the floor dark and just ominous looking. So making sure that the environment is well lit and avoid thinking of like shadows in the corner or shadowy figures. Covering up mirrors. Sometimes if a person with dementia walks past a mirror, you're like, who is that person? That's not me. I'm 18, you know? So they don't know who that is, and it might freak them out. So covering up some mirrors could be helpful. Internal factors could just be, maybe they were always an anxious person. They're always dealing with anxiety. Patients with dementia always have difficulty processing the environment, but they might translate that into anxiety. Hunger, thirst, pain, need to use a bathroom. Any medication changes can also, you know, elicit different responses. So it's important when you change medications to monitor the physical and mental responses to them. Some ways that I found really effective in managing anxieties, starting with hand massage. If you sit next to somebody and start touch their hand and kind of just like, you know, give them like a hand massage, it feels so great and it really calms people down quite quickly. And I'll do that while I show them like old photo albums or old picture books, or, you know, I'll be like, oh, remember that time you told me about your husband? We went, you know, reminiscing about things that they're familiar with. Putting on music or aromatherapy, again, can be helpful. And adapting the environment, as I said before, with the mirrors. If the problem is like not being able to find the bathroom or worrying about where the bathroom is, adding signs or using devices like a commode in different rooms could be really helpful to curb that anxiety. So a sign with an arrow like, the bathroom's this way. You know, what about you guys when you have to use the bathroom and you don't know where one is? It can be, you know, oh my God, I got to get there. So knowing where it is and seeing different, you know, options for bathrooms could be helpful as well. Lastly, just for all of this, consider your approach to the patient. The next slide is going to be a video from Tifa Snow, who actually is an occupational therapist as well. And she's like the dementia guru. Her videos are all over the place, but the next video really shows a great way to approach patients with dementia that will, you know, facilitate a good performance in whatever you're asking them to do. So let's play this.
Hi, Thaddeus, and I say, hey, Thaddeus, how you doing today? And with lack of impulse control, I might get myself in trouble. So the first rule on approach is always come from within visual range. Always approach where they can see you. Give them a chance to know you're coming. So you want to come from the front so that they know you're coming in. Now he can process the information, sort of figure out, oh, there's somebody coming, if he's capable of doing that, if his brain's still able to do that. Now pull your feet back, Thaddeus, for this next one. Okay, you ready? All right, you ready? You sure you're ready? Okay. He was ready. What happened?
We all kind of went back.
Y'all kind of went back in sympathy, right? Coming in too fast, not giving him time to figure out what's going to happen results in, Thaddeus already told us, he tends to flight. He wants to get away. So what was he doing? Yeah. Trying to get away. Now, somebody who tends to be a fighter, what might I see? Push me back away or grab me and try to shake me or do something to me. Who started it? I did. Okay, I came in too fast. Now, I'm not saying that caregivers race up, but in the mind of somebody who is damaged with Alzheimer's disease, it feels like you're coming in really fast. The other thing I do is, okay, Thaddeus, let's get those shoes off, because, come on, pull your, Thaddeus, come on now, let's get your, okay, because I know what I want to have done, and I never check in with Thaddeus and make sure he knows what I want to do. And so what happens is conflict, because I came in too fast. So the rule is come from the front, okay? Second rule is go slow. And it's 1 second, 1 step. So it's 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3. It gives him a chance to figure out what's going on. Now, we've come from the front, we go slow, still have an opportunity to ruin it. I'm going to stand right in front of him, and I'm going to smile real big. How's that working for you, Thaddeus?
Kind of awkward.
Kind of awkward. Uh-huh. Yeah, what about if I do this?
You know, I think I've done something wrong.
How about if I do this?
I know I've done something wrong.
Yeah, because it takes you back to those days. This stance is actually called confrontational stance. Think about it in real life. When do you use it?
It's when you're disciplining it.
When you want to get in somebody's face. You really are like trying to gain intimidation. Is that what we want to do with people with dementia? No, because it's going to call that kind of response that we don't want to see, which is the anger, the lack of impulse control. So instead of getting right here in confrontational stance, I want to move to the side. Feel different?
Yeah, you're more kind of where I can deal with you on my own. Terms.
What if you don't like what I'm saying? What can you do?
You just turn away. Yeah.
This stance is called supportive stance. Okay, I'm here to support him. Now I want to maintain arm's reach. I don't want to be like this, because we're back to the same old problem. Arm's length, so that I could reach out like this. He feels a lot more comfortable with that. I'm less likely to get that automatic reaction. Okay? So to put it together so far, come from the front, Nice and slow, and come to the side. Feel better?
Much.
You sure?
That was much better over there.
Much better over there, yeah. The other thing you'll notice is he smiled. Did that mean he was happy? What was it?
I was comfortable.
Yeah, that nervous kind of, it's sort of, you'll see people with dementia do that a lot with caregivers. They'll smile and they'll, doesn't mean they're happy. They're anxious and nervous and they're trying to figure out how to make this work. Now, here I am to the side, looks pretty good, but I want to get to eye level, right? What do you think?
You're too close.
Too close, too close. So bending over to get down doesn't work. What does work, however, hey, how's that feel?
It's much better because it's lower.
Who feels like they're in control?
I do.
That is.
Who am I? Who's in control?
You are.
Yeah, but did I actually give up anything here? But I did because that Thaddeus feels in control now. Who's more likely to cooperate with me?
I am.
Yeah, absolutely. I still have one more chance to ruin it here. Let me grab hold of him. Come on, let's go. What's the automatic reaction? Pull back. I want to make my job more difficult because it's not hard enough. That's a facetious question. What I really want to do is think about how can I get him to work with me. So instead, what I'm going to do is offer my hand out here and let him take my hand. Hey, who's more likely to cooperate with me? Somebody who's offered his hand or somebody who's been taken?
So those are just some tips on how to approach somebody that will elicit an effective response. You don't want to come in too quick, say, we got to do this, give me your shoe, let me take your pants off, let me get you dressed. It's too overwhelming for them. They're not processing it at the same speed you are. So put yourself on like fast forward, and that's how people with dementia are, processing it and taking it in, and they're missing steps and they don't know what you're doing to them, and it can be very alarming, causing anxiety. So consider your approach. If one approach doesn't work, let them sit for a second, come back, try again. That's the beauty with dementia, is we have endless times to reapproach and try new things. All right, so managing paranoid delusions. A lot of times, an aide will be accused of stealing. Oh, this one's trying to poison me. They're trying to kick me out of my home. You'll hear that a lot, and they're fixed. That's it. That is what they think. They cannot be changed. That's always going to happen. They're always going to think that somebody is stealing their things. They might even start hiding items where people can't find them in anticipation of somebody stealing them, forget where they hid them, and think somebody stole them. So it can be a vicious cycle. Some ways to break out of that cycle would be to place items in the same spot. You can even put like a name on the item, like the wallet I have here has the name, so it would bring their attention to it and confirm, yes, this is my wallet. You can redirect them to another activity while you, quote unquote, look for the missing item. So why don't you help me fold the laundry while, your son, your aide looks for the item. Even you found it. Oh, I found it now, and you can present it. Hey, here it is. Sorry, it was just misplaced. I must have put it in the wrong pair of jeans, or I must have ran it through the wash. If they perseverate on one specific item, try to get a couple of multiples of that item. And this way, you have some backups in case they do hide it in a place that you can't find. And keep your explanation simple. Like I said, the processing really isn't there, so the simpler the better. And managing hallucinations. This one is going to be another Tipa Snow video, but their sensory system, like I said, is processing the external cues differently. So the sound that might be coming from outside or the next room could be them thinking that somebody's talking to them, and they could be thinking that the shadow in the corner, that just the light didn't cast a good light on that side of the room. Oh, there's somebody in that corner. They're out to get me. Dark rugs on the floor. They could think that that's a hole in the floor. So removing dark rugs could be helpful. And if they have really like threatening hallucinations, try to put away any possible weapons like knives, anything that could be used, a bat. Because you don't want anything going wrong where they think something's happening, but they're just misinterpreting their environment. So we want to redirect to another activity to get their mind off of it, provide comfort and reassurance. You're not going to argue with them. No, there's nothing over there, because that's their reality. Something's over them in their over there in their world. And, you know, to accept it and move on is a lot easier than arguing with them about it. And distracting them, pretty much the same as redirecting them to something else. So here's one more video from Teepa Snow on how to approach someone having hallucinations and then redirect them. Just going to fast forward just a tad.
Okay, that one, get it. Now, you can tell by her face. Did you see it? What did her face say? What the hell are you talking about? And her whole body's going, okay. And what is she telling me? Diss me. So what she wants to do is, which is my dominant side. On my body, it's the right. You want to approach from the person's dominant side, because, do this, you'll draw their gaze to that side. Human beings like people on their preferred side. They pay more attention to data on their preferred side. They like auditory data coming in on their preferred side. They prefer to be touched on their preferred side. So what I'm doing is setting it up so that if she comes to that side, what will I pay less attention to? The thing that was over here, which I was really focused on. And so she's going to start off far enough away so that she goes, Teepa, hey. And if I see her and call her in, she wants to come in and get connected to me. Hey, come here. I need you to get,
Hi.
Hey, listen.
How are you?
Well, I'm not good. That
Okay.
little boy, I'm worried about him.
Little boy, you're worried about?
Yeah, he's up under there. You see how he's gotten up under there, and I'm afraid he's going to get hurt. Can you get him out of there? You want me to get him out?
You want me to get him out of there?
Yeah, somebody needs to get him out.
Somebody needs to get him out? Somebody does need to get him out.
Now those were the same exact words. What was different?
Does.
What was she taking control of? The situation. And so what you want to do is let me know, do I have to be in charge of it anymore? No, you're going to take care of it. You're absolutely right. That little boy should be getting out from under that. That's not okay. Yeah, kids shouldn't be up under there, should they? I bet you were always real good with your kids. I bet you didn't have, oh yeah, no, they'd get into weird places.
So you can see there, Teepa directed her to, approach from the dominant side if possible. If not, try to approach from the side that the hallucination isn't taking place in. So if their attention is to the right, try to approach from the other side. This way, their attention is now not on what they think they're seeing, and it's on you, and you can take control of the situation. Once that's done, all right, she's seeing a little boy. How many little boys do you have? Remember when our kids were little? Remember how cute Jerry was as a kid? Let's go look at some pictures. And okay, we're going to go look at pictures now. It just completely redirects their mind. And if it persists, just, keep attempting, keep redirecting, keep trying to present different preferred activities that they would want to do. Oh, well, let's go, walk through the house and find, I don't know, who knows, see how many pictures we can count. There's a lot of different things that you can distract people with, and it'll take their mind right off of it.
My son once...
Okay, so we're kind of moving from behaviors and working into my area of expertise, activities of daily living. So one of those is dressing. Some common difficulties here would be sequencing. For example, putting shoes on before your pants, or underwear on after your pants, or the hat before the shirt, etc. Difficulty remembering to change clothing or refusing to change clothing, choosing appropriate clothing based on the weather, and overall forgetting how to dress yourself. So you hand someone a shirt and they don't know what to do with it. Maybe they put it on as pants, or they start cleaning the table with it. So some early stage ways to help: using signs, checklists, reminders, and really for all of these things, you're going to see routines a lot, because the more you instill routine into somebody, the easier it is for them to know what to expect and how they're expected to perform. Middle stages of dementia, you might have to lay out the clothing. You might have to hand them things one at a time, talk through the sequencing. Okay, put on your shirt. Now put on your pants. Now put on your socks. But when you're talking through things, don't overwhelm them with 3 things at once. Okay, here's your shirt, do the shirt, then do your pants, then do your socks, then do your shoes. Too much. Keep it simple, 1 thing at a time, 1-step directions. Put on your shirt, put on your pants, and you'll have a lot more success there. In the later stages, they might be having more physical difficulties, and they might need you to actually help them put on their shirt over their head. A lot of times, you know, I just changed my shirt this morning. I don't need to change my shirt again. Some ways that I've gotten people into different clothing would be, for example, saying, you know what, there's just a stain on it. I want to get that out. Let me put it through the wash real quick. And here, put this shirt on instead. That usually 9 times out of 10 works to get somebody out of a dirty shirt. And you can orient to time of day for different, you know, things that it should be wearing. If it's nighttime out, it's time for pajamas. So look outside. Is it light or dark? They might say dark. They might not realize what it is. Well, if it's dark out, then it's time for your pajamas. So then you can segue into putting on pajamas. In the later stages as well, you want to explain everything as you're doing it and before you do it. So for example, if I'm to approach somebody with dementia and I want them to get changed, I'm not just going to run up to them and start pulling down their pants, because what would you do if some stranger walked into your house and just pulled your pants down? You probably wouldn't react very well to me. So you have to take it slow. Say, hi, I'm here to, you know, help you get dressed. Let's start taking your pants off so we can put our pajama pants on. So we're going to take your pants off now. And then they know what to expect. Okay, you're going to take my pants. We're going to take my pants off now. And that can help to enhance the performance of somebody with dementia and dressing. Bathing. So a lot of things are thinking that they bathed already or they just bathed yesterday. Same thing with dressing, not bathing regularly. Baths and showers are one of the places that you see the most agitation. So we'll go over how to deal with that. And not washing thoroughly. So they might, you know, just quickly rinse off and think that they're nice and clean, but they didn't use soap, they didn't get under the armpits, they didn't wash their hair. And difficulty transferring, which is more of a physical issue, but we're going to address that in a little bit. I'll show you an example of equipment to help get in and out of the shower and bath. So early stages, like I said, checklists, reminders, routines. That's going to be pretty much your golden rule for early stages of dementia, how to help with ADLs. Putting on calming music or aromatherapy or getting shampoos and soaps that have a calming scent could also help. In the middle stages, make sure you're really explaining and verbalizing what's going on, simply, but verbalizing it. So we're going to take a shower now. Let's walk to the shower, and really prepping them like, okay, shower, shower, shower. We're going to the shower. You can even put timers on or songs. I like to use songs a lot in dementia, like singing a song. All right, let's wash our hair until You Are My Sunshine is over. And we sing it together, and you know, they start liking their shower now. They're not as agitated. They're singing, they're, you know, having fun almost. Later stages, same thing with dressing, is you might need to help more with the physical assistance, but if possible, try to use more of a hand over or hand under hand approach. So instead of, for example, washing someone's hair for them, instead take their hand and put it on their hair and start scrubbing. Usually just the initiation of having somebody help them start doing that motion, like, oh yeah, this is how I wash my hair. And they can start picking it up from there. So that's a really great tip that I like to use with dementia, is just get them started in something and they usually can pick it up from there. The muscle memory will come in. You know, a more controversial but also effective thing could be using a baby doll or a stuffed animal in the shower. So if they don't want to do a shower themselves, say, you know, it's time for the baby to have a bath, let's bring the baby to the shower. And they wash the baby as you wash them. So it's kind of a distraction, especially for, you know, older women with dementia. They really take to the baby doll quite easily. They love it. And as said before, explain slowly as you perform tasks. Don't just run up to somebody and, you know, try to pull their pants down or spray water on them. They don't know what's going on. And if you were sprayed with water and naked and vulnerable in a shower, you might be agitated too. So I guess what I'm saying is try to take a walk in their shoes for a second as you're approaching them and as you're performing these things for them, and realize that they need to be an active participant as well. So grooming, such as brushing your teeth, brushing your hair, shaving. Again, common cognitive issues would be sequencing, forgetting things like, oh, I didn't put my toothbrush on my toothbrush, but toothpaste on my toothbrush, but here I am brushing my teeth. Initiation, so forgetting to perform them all together. Awareness, not realizing that they smell or they look a mess or they need to shave. And then not realizing how to use the items properly. So for example, if I was to give someone a toothbrush and they start brushing their hair, or they scrub under their fingernails, or who knows, they could do a million different things with a toothbrush. But that's a very common thing that happens in dementia as well, not using items appropriately. Again, in the early stages, develop a routine if possible, and keep to it as much as possible. Using visual cues, especially for grooming, look in the mirror, you haven't shaved in 5 days, and feel your face. You need to shave, you're all stubbly. That could really help with the awareness issue. Using checklists, signs, alarms, different, sounds on the alarms can help orient them to what's needed to be done. In the middle stages, you might have to lay things out or label them, provide verbal cues through to the task, and hand one item at a time as they're needed. So here's your toothbrush, here's your toothpaste. Put the toothpaste on the toothbrush, and you might see some improvements in performance there. Later stages, like I said, hand over or hand under hand, if possible, is really great, because once you start, all right, we're going to brush our hair, they might take it over from there if you let go. So just getting them started sometimes really taps into their procedural memory, and they can continue to do something once you start it. And continue doing those very simple verbal cues. Brush your teeth, take the brush, brush your hair. Will show a more effective performance. Feeding. Feeding is always a really difficult area. There's a lot of senses and sensory systems that go into eating that you don't even think of. So some physical issues could be vision. They're not realizing what's in front of them. They just see, a blurry plate of some sort, but they don't really know. So a lot of times like cataracts or something like that could be really blurring their vision. So using high contrast plates and utensils could be helpful. Another physical issue would be their taste. So alternating foods and alternating palates is helpful in completing a meal if someone's like, oh, I don't like anything, because they don't really have that much responsiveness in their taste buds anymore. So alternating hot and cold foods, sweet and savory foods can really, wake up the senses. Fine motor skills and hand strength could also be an issue. They can't hold a cup. They can't bring the cup to their mouth. They can't grab a fork with those, pincher grasps that you need to stab food and bring it to your mouth. So using built-up utensils, different adaptive utensils could be really helpful. And occupational therapists can help recommend different equipment that might be helpful for feeding tasks. As far as swallowing troubles, if you notice your loved one is coughing every time they're taking a drink, or they keep food in their mouth, it's called pocketing, or if they're coughing on regular foods, please, please, please bring them to the doctor immediately. They could be having swallowing difficulties, and they could be aspirating on their food, which could lead to pneumonia, which obviously we want to avoid at all costs. Feeding and eating is a very social activity. How many times do you say to your friend, hey, let's go out for dinner tonight. I want to see you. Let's spend some time together. I mean, maybe not so much during COVID, but usually let's go get something to eat is a really social activity. So you want to not have them sitting alone in a room by themselves eating. It's just not appetizing, really. So sit with them, eat with them, try to get a conversation going if possible even. You want them in an upright chair. This will prevent any choking episodes as well. So not in the recliner, not sitting up in bed, in a nice firm chair that at a table where they have their food right in front of them and it's apparent, this is now the time that we're eating. Another big part of eating and taste is smell. So if someone, notoriously doesn't have an appetite for dinner, if you're cooking, have them sit in the kitchen with you or have them help even. This can help really alert the senses like, this smells good. This is something I want to eat. I can't wait for this to be done. And they might start getting hungry just because of the smells in the room. So cooking with the person in the room can also be helpful. All right. So here's some of the adaptive equipment I wanted to mention to you guys. The first picture is a picture of the high contrast plates and utensils that I mentioned before. Those utensils are actually built up as well, which is great for poor grip strength or arthritis. The concept there is that it will bring your visual attention to the food, and anything on the plate will kind of be more visually, accessible to them, and anything off the plate will kind of fall into the background. Below that picture is built up foam tubing. They sell it at Home Depot, Amazon, and you can put that over anything that your loved one is having a hard time grasping. A pen, marker, toothbrush and spoons like you see here, hairbrushes. I've even seen it over like lamps, like where you turn on the lamps, and that can help grip that as well. The middle picture, the top shirt there, looks like just a regular shirt, but those buttons are actually not buttons, they're magnets. So it relieves the frustration of having to button up a shirt. So if somebody with dementia is having difficulty with their fine motor skills or difficulty, getting all the buttons in line and lining up the buttons, this one's a magnet. You just get them somewhat close to each other and they stick together. And they're really strong magnets too. They're not gonna just fly open at the slightest breeze. So I've used that with many of my patients and they love it. It takes so much frustration out of their daily routine of getting dressed. The picture below the shirt is a tub transfer bench. If you have a tub with a shower and the person's having a really hard time getting in and out of the shower, this could be a really effective method to get in and out. The chair spans, half of it is in the bath and half of it is outside on the bathroom floor. So you sit on the outside part and then you scoot your little butt over into the shower and bring your legs with you. And then you're in the shower without having to climb over the tub wall. The other two pictures on here, one is a fidget board. The other one is a fidget blanket. And anyone that's, always fiddling with their hands or always, looking for some sensory stimulation would really, really be receptive to something like this. I've given these out several times as recommendations and, they work like a charm to help distract if you need to cook and they need to stay there. Here, play with this for a little while, put it in front of them, and it usually keeps them occupied for quite some time. So that's it, guys. I'd love to answer some questions or hear some feedback. Also on the bottom here, Fox Rehab is a Medicare B company that comes into the home to help your loved ones. So that's how we're different. We come in and we can stay for as long or as little as you guys need us based on the therapist's clinical judgment. So if you need more information on Fox, you can contact Janice, our account manager, at the number and the email listed below. So I just wanted to have that up on the screen while you guys sent out your questions.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. That was wonderful and very, very informative. We appreciate it. Pam, you're gonna, I don't know if there was anything in the chat.
No.
Okay, so, we can open it up, I think at this point. If you have a question, you can either put it in the chat or you can unmute yourself and call it out. There aren't that many people that we can't do that. So does anyone have any questions for Jennifer? Anything you want to ask? Anything about your loved one that you have some questions about? This is a good time to ask a question.
I have just a comment, Jennifer. We're actually using your facility, your agency, and a lovely young man named Chris came to the house today to work with my husband, and he came at lunchtime to see how he was eating and using all the different utensils, and he's working up a plan. In other words, what I liked about it was that he wasn't going to just do the usual activities. He was basing them on my husband's interests. So he wanted to see how far my husband could reach, and they had like these cups within each other, and Charlie thought that was ridiculous. He wasn't going to do that. That was the stupidest thing. But yet, you know, when they went into the living room and they started kicking a soccer ball, that had more meaning. And that's what Chris had said. He's going to work on a plan that is more meaningful to my husband. So I want to thank everybody from the agency. I want to thank Gloria for recommending Fox, and hopefully we're going to have a successful journey together.
I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah. As I said before, everyone with dementia presents differently, and like all of us, we all have different interests. So what interests one person, like the soccer ball was great for him, but I have patients I'd be like, get this thing out of here. So
yes,
tapping into what they like is really important, and listening to what they used to do, what their likes and dislikes were. And I'm so glad that you had a great time with Chris. He's amazing. He's been with the company for 10 years. So
good to know.
Veteran of Fox.
Yes, there's a question. Jean, do you want to ask your question?
Yes, I unfortunately missed the first half an hour, so I don't quite understand. Do you come into the home and give advice? In my case, I take care of my husband, as does a caregiver. So
yeah,
some of
Fox
the things
comes to the house, and we do our evaluation, and then as many treatment sessions as we feel is clinically appropriate in order to get you to reach those goals. So we do an in-home assessment, which I love because I get to experience what they're actually experiencing instead of being in a gym and trying to simulate it.
But Jennifer, just if you can mention quickly how that comes about, that there does need to be a script, there does need to be clinical goals. I mean, if you could kind of run through that a little bit so people understand.
So to get the process started, you would ask your doctor, or whoever you want to use, it doesn't matter, for a prescription for therapy. And you can either send that prescription to Janice or ask them to refer to Fox. And if they know who we are, then they'll send it right over. If not, you can, you know, use the name and phone number there and say, well, can you contact Janice for this? And they can send the prescription to Janice, and we can have that processed. Once we come in to the evaluation, we as clinicians kind of have a feel for how long we'll be in the house, especially if we're experienced. You know, we know you might need 60 days, you might need 90 days. We usually do 2 to 3 visits a week for each discipline. So if you're getting OT, PT, and speech, it can get super busy. But you can either choose to do them all at once, do one at a time, whatever works best with your schedule. And we form our schedule to best suit you as much as we can. So let's say, you know, mornings are no good. We'll try to put you in later in the day. So we really collaborate with you guys to, you know, do a plan that works best for everyone.
One more question. Do you recommend, is there a particular book that you would recommend? My husband's in the late stage, and some of your suggestions were excellent. So I just was wondering, is there a book, a handbook, or something that we could refer to?
You know what? Fox actually has, it's called the Caregivers Playbook for Dementia. Maybe I'll email that to Gloria, and Gloria can send it out to the team. Would that be okay?
Absolutely. Would love to do that.
Okay, so it includes a lot of the tips that I said today. I'm not sure if it uses so much like for each activity of daily living, like dressing, but they should be printed out on the slideshow as well for you so that you can see them, because Gloria is recording this.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
great.
Yeah, it will be on our website, just so you're aware of that.
Alicia?
And those last 2 items that you had up that they can use at a table or on their lap, those particular ones I haven't seen before. Do you know where they came from?
I just Google search for a fidget board or a fidget blanket. There's a lot on Etsy that they'll personalize it. They can write their name on it. They come out beautiful. But otherwise, they're on Amazon. You can really find them in quite a lot of places. Or you can make them yourself too if he was very specific in what he liked. You can always put things that he likes on it.
Good idea.
Okay, I think Alicia had her hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, I have just simple questions, and I'll just make them brief. What do you do when my mother keeps repeating and asking. One of her brothers passed away in July, so she keeps asking when someone mentions it, like my dad's talking to someone, she'll call me up and say, did my brother just die? So she keeps repeating that. And then another thing is she doesn't remember when she's giving things to people, like a plate. And she'll say, I think someone stole my plate. So today she came to the house, it's her birthday. So I said, no, look, Mom, I have the plate. Do I have to go into so much or just say, I ended up just showing her, is that the correct thing? You know, am I doing the correct thing? Because this is all new to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to tell you there's a right or wrong way to do it because it's really trial and error. But it seems like you're doing the right thing. Just show them, no, you gave me your plate, you know, here it is. That would be under the paranoid delusions that somebody stole something.
Okay.
The repetition, sometimes that'll happen, and it's going to be a recurring question. If that's the stage in her life that she's at in her head, then, you know, that's the emotion that she's feeling. She feels like, wow, I just lost somebody in her head. And she's like, what just happened? And she thinks that she's feeling this emotional turmoil. So sometimes writing a note about it sometimes can help, but most of the time at some stage they kind of progress on to something else. Sometimes a picture book with pictures of her and her brother when she was in good health, and just, oh, you know, he did pass away, but we have this great picture book, and that can keep them distracted for a while and help them process those memories.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? You could raise your hand, you could call out, feel free.
Or write it in the chat.
Or write it, I forgot about that. Write in that, keep forgetting, write in the chat. Okay, it doesn't look like we have any questions. Jennifer, thank you.
Victoria has my email as well. If you want any other advice, she can, you know, direct you to me. And like I said, Fox Rehab is all over Long Island. So really wherever you are in the island, we'll come to you and try to help you in the home.
And they have been, I have to say, in one of my other groups, someone was having a great deal of difficulty getting therapies. They had been getting them, they were finished. Clinically, they were done. They would not give them any extra sessions. And then someone at Fox tried again and managed to get a script from the doctor. And now she's getting OT, PT, and speech in the home, all three. She's getting everything.
Great.
So
yeah, that's the difference between us and Medicare A companies that usually come into the home is we're Medicare B. So us as clinicians decide how many visits to get the doctor's prescription.
Which is a huge difference, huge.
Yeah, sometimes you only get 4 visits with the therapist and then, nope, you're cut off. But us as therapists, we can stay 3 months as long as it's medically necessary for us to be there.
Correct, yeah. Yes, Diane, go ahead.
I just have a question. How do you know when you need speech therapy?
So speech can tackle a lot of different areas. If they're having cognitive decline, even with dementia, if they can follow one-step directions, speech could be appropriate here. They can think of different cognitive activities to present to help maintain whatever levels that they have left. So speech is really important with dementia. Any swallowing difficulties, if someone drinks a cup of water, they're coughing all the time, that's signs of aspiration and they need to deal with the swallowing aspect there. Or if their voice has changed, the quality or ability of them to make words, find the right words, they can help with the written and verbal communications as well. And an occupational or physical therapist could help you identify these factors. I always refer to speech when I'm in homes. I'll say, you know, I see him coughing when we take our rest breaks and have water. Have you considered speech therapy? I think he needs a swallow evaluation. And most of the time, you know, people are right on board.
Yeah. Would spitting after you eat be an indication of a swallowing problem?
Not necessarily. Is it like a active, like, ugh, I didn't like that spit?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems more behavioral to me.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I'm hoping it wasn't behavioral.
It's just for cooking, don't worry, no. That's where alternating different types of foods, different temperatures of foods could help because they're not processing the taste the same as they used to. So something that used to be their favorite food could be disgusting to them now. So alternating it with different things like pudding, and then it sounds so weird, but like eating pudding and then eating some French fries, or eating like something sweet and salty or hot and cold. It can really help them keep engaged in their food.
That's interesting, actually, because I have seen where someone, you'll start feeding, you know, someone will be eating and then they pretty much just sort of forget or lose interest, or we're not even sure what. But I love that idea of then changing textures or changing something startling, or something, the temperature or a texture, so that it almost startles them back into and it engages the senses again, which I think is so cool.
And that's exactly, it brings their attention back into it. Like it becomes more of an experience rather than, you know, a need to do type of thing.
Or a chore, which is what I think it becomes for them, something just really hard to do. Yeah, that's interesting. That is really, really interesting, actually. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Great suggestion.
Anyone else? Any other questions? Comments?
Yeah, I'm curious, at what point, Diane brought up about speech. What about the other issues of, how do you know when to approach you that we should need them? If things are going smoothly, or when, I'm not sure myself as to how, at what point we would contact you.
If things are at baseline and he's, you know, your loved one is doing what they were doing, then there's not really a need for us. So it's when you start to see some sort of change or decline, that's when you go to your doctor and say, hey, he's starting to act like this. I was hoping to look into the therapies and seeing if we can get him on some sort of activity plan or something. I hope that answered your question, I think.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I had a quick question. If you're doing outpatient therapy, are you still eligible to have a home evaluation from an OT standpoint, like grab bars, those type of things? How does that work with Medicare?
What do you mean? I do the home evaluation as the OT in the home.
So if you're, say you're doing outpatient PT, so I know there's always this mix where you can't do outpatient and home at the same time, and you specifically just want a home evaluation, do you have to be homebound?
It would probably just the physical therapist or the person admitting the case to Fox would say, oh, they want a home eval, let's get OT instead of PT.
Okay. But there's no Medicare issue if you're doing outpatient PT and just want a home evaluation?
No, our outpatient on wheels is how we word it. So we bring the outpatient to you.
Okay.
So as long as it's a different kind of therapy is what makes the difference. So in other words, you couldn't do, I don't think, I'm guessing you couldn't do, you know, outpatient with PT and then come into the home with the PT. I don't think so.
No, correct.
No,
yeah.
It has to be two different kinds of therapy.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Sam. I didn't understand your question. Yeah, if you're outside company for PT, you can't have PT in the home as well. But if you're seeing an outside company for PT and you want a home evaluation by an OT, then we can come in as Fox and come in.
Yeah, that's what I think.
And can you just expand for a minute for the group, because we get this question frequently, what you would do in a home evaluation?
I'm constantly evaluating homes. I don't have one session where I'm like, oh, I'm doing a home evaluation today. If I see, like, if I want to see someone, how they get in and out of the bathroom, then I'm assessing the bathroom's environment, and I can recommend grab bars, different equipment, etc. We actually do have a Fox colleague here in Long Island who is developing their own remodeling company because he took the certified aging in place specialty. So he knows the thing like the back of his hand. He can do whole renovations and go through a whole house and tell you this is what's wrong and this is how to fix it. But for me personally, and for most of the other OTs on the team, we do it kind of by like a room by room basis on what we're working on and how it relates to our goals. So if there's a toileting goal, obviously we're going to be helping the bathroom environment be more accessible.
Jennifer, if you could send us his information, because that comes up a lot where people are, and I talk a lot to people about, I get calls all the time about people wanting to age in place and what are they going to do in terms of their home environment. They don't want to move when they're willing to modify. They have the funds to do it, but they don't quite know what to do. So having someone who's aware of it from both the construction point of view and the therapy point of view is like the best combination.
Best of both worlds, yeah.
It's a great marriage, actually.
Yeah, it is,
You know,
and that's why it's like such a special certification.
Yep, yeah, so yeah, that would be wonderful.
Fox Playbook for caregivers to send out.
Yep.
And Dan's information.
Giving you homework.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It'll take me 2 seconds.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Again, echo Gloria, that's a frequent request.
Yeah, for all of us, any of us in any of these fields, whether it's the dementia,
the other resource that I use quite frequently is the Senior Advocate. We met the woman that creates it, and she's just so amazing. A booklet that's given out, I think twice a year, maybe 3 times a year, and it has a whole list of community resources, including things that could renovate, hospice, home care. It is basically your handy book too. Oh, and I have a copy of it right here. My handy assistant just brought it over.
Look at that. Look at that.
It basically tells you everything that's in the community that could be helpful. It's called the Senior Advocate. They have the whole PDF online. So if you just Google it, it should come up. Her name is Tracy, and she.
Of course, I know Tracy Kaczynski. Is it?
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, I know her from years ago. She's been around a long. She's been around a long time. She's been doing this a long time. Yep. That's great. So yeah. So now we have another resource, the Senior Advocate.
Occupational Therapy Assistant by trade.
Oh, is she? I didn't even know that. Okay, I just thought. I know she did a lot with housing. That had been her initial thing in life was to help people find housing. So she was amazing. I would refer to her a lot to get people housing.
For I don't even know how many people every year.
Yeah, she does a lot of that. She knows a lot of people. That's great. Okay, so now we have another thing to look at. Senior Advocate, everyone. We'll get that, and we'll try to send that out.
I can send it out too.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you. Okay.
Right. Thank you guys so much for having me. It really was a pleasure.
And thank you, Jennifer. And thank you to Fox Rehab, who have been amazing. We are, just so you all are aware, we are having another dementia webinar in October, on Friday, October 23rd. It will be with Dr. Gutman from Winthrop Hospital, and he will be talking about the more of the psychological and neurological pieces around dementia, but also some of the behavioral issues. And so again, let us know. We'll send the word out. If you're interested, though, certainly get in touch with Pam. And she put her information in chat, so you guys can jot that down if you don't have it. Or certainly you can get in touch with me, but we will be sending that information out. So it's Friday, October 23rd, 2 to 3. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Thanks again, Jen. And take care, everybody.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.